Pedal Gauntlet is a result of a frustrated pedal nerd spending far too many hours on YouTube watching demo after demo, trying to figure out the difference between two basically identical Tube Screamer clones. If you're watching this, you're probably similar to me in the sense that you've watched countless demos by the likes of Gearmandude, Andy from Pro Guitar Shop, The Pedal Show, JHS Pedals,
He has the box,
Fluff, SuperFunAwesomeHappyTime Pedals, Wampler, Gilmorish, Andertons, and probably a dozen other channels that I haven't mentioned. Like me, you've probably sat there with your fanciest headphones on, straining so that you can really understand the differences between, say, a Civil War Big Muff and a Ram's Head Big Muff. And that leads you down this massive rabbit hole where you might start off on Fluff's demo and then you'll switch over to that pedal show where they talk about the pedal you're interested in 10 minutes of their 90-minute deep dives, which are totally awesome, said with love. And you're straining to sort of spot the differences between the two, but it's actually kind of an impossible task. It's an impossible task because you're not just comparing the pedals at that stage, but you're also comparing two different guitar players and what guitars they're playing, into what amps they're playing, different speakers, different rooms, different microphones, different everything. You're kind of comparing apples and oranges at that point in time. So then you normally end up watching Andy from Pro Guitar Shop make an amazing demo of it, which is not a great point of reference because let's face it, that man can make absolutely every pedal sound freaking awesome. So I came up with the Pedal Gauntlet. This is my attempt at bringing some science to the discussion, but I'm going to acknowledge science is a bit loosely applied here. With the Pedal Gauntlet, I recorded a bunch of DIs using a Les Paul, a Stratocaster, a down-tuned Yamaha, and a big chuggy Metal Explorer. I will then reamp these performances through a 1970s Fender Bassman, a Marshall JVM, and a Mesa rectifier, depending on what sort of tone we're looking for. I have attempted to play in different musical styles, but I'm going to acknowledge my playing can be a bit limited on that front. These amps are going to run into the same Mesa 4x12, which is loaded with vintage 30s, and it's going to be mic'd up with an SM57. The mic pre-used will be a Neve Portico 5012, which is a ridiculously clean preamp, so it won't colour the sound too much. This is pretty much the most generic setup ever, and it should provide a really useful reference point for anybody trying to compare pedals. Now, since everything is being reamped, that means each test is going to have the same performances, recorded on the same guitars, which are then going to run into the same amps, which are then running into the same cabinet, mic'd up with the same microphone, so that way, in theory, the only differences between the two tests is the pedal in the signal chain. This means if you want to compare two different pedals, you could look up both videos, and it should be pretty easy to spot the differences between the two pedals. You're going to hear the clean signal, followed by the pedal itself. Then you'll hear it in a band mix where the pedal has been double tracked, and then you're going to hear it used on a guitar solo. The screen will switch between color and black and white to indicate if the pedal is on or off, and different genres of pedals are going to have different kinds of tests. At the end of each test, I'll sit down and explain what the pedal is and what I thought of it, and hopefully at the end of the day, we all would have learned something.
Are you sure everything will be exactly the same?
Probably not. I mean, I use these amps a fair bit, so I'm not going to promise that the settings are going to be the exact same every single time. Also, they are tube amps, which by their nature can sometimes be a little bit inconsistent with how they sound. The microphone has been attached to the cabinet using an amp clamp, so the microphone should be in a fairly consistent position, but I can't guarantee it'll never get bumped or nudged or anything like that, so there might be an occasional difference somewhere in the tone. That's why I always include the clean signal in every test, because if there is a big difference on one day compared to a next, hopefully that difference will be really obvious in the clean signal, and you'll be able to take that into account when you listen to the tests.
Isn't it boring to listen to the same piece of music over and over again?
Yep.
Wait, is that the same video for each demo?
Yep.
Why?
That's kind of the point. If we're doing different tests for each demo, we don't really have much of a gauntlet, so I'm trying to demonstrate that it's the same test every single time. And it being the same test every single time, that's hopefully when it gets really useful to compare them.
Dude, your playing sucks.
Probably.
Oh my god, those are the most generic riffs ever.
Yeah, probably. This has 0% to do with music and 100% to do with how things sound.
Oh my god, you're running that pedal into that? Dude, that sucks. It's gonna sound so much better if...
You are almost definitely correct. However, what I've tried to do here is choose common points of reference. I'm assuming that we all have an understanding of what Fender amplifiers do, of what Marshall amplifiers do, what vintage 30s do, and how it all sounds in front of an SM57. There's a good chance I'm going to miss some magic combination of pedal and amp. However, what I'm trying to do here is give a consistent point of reference so that you can understand how the pedal sounds and you can make good predictions about whether or not it's going to work in your rig.
Oh wow, that pedal sounded so bad in that circumstance.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? But I regard that as really useful information. There are some pedals out there that are kind of really only good at one thing, and I mean that's great if you're after that one thing. But if you buy that pedal to do something that it's not meant to do, that can sometimes have really bad results. So sometimes a pedal gauntlet is going to demonstrate both how to use a pedal and also what it's not good for. Still really useful information for everybody so that way you can help decide what's going to fit best in your rig.
Oh my god, that mix sounds like trash.
Yeah, I've kind of tried to mix this as raw as humanly possible, and every single demo is getting the exact same mix, no changes in the mixes whatsoever. I think it's really useful information sometimes to hear how a pedal sounds in a mix. For example, a Big Muff has a massive mid scoop in it, so a lot of people feel that when they play a Big Muff in a band mix that the guitar disappears completely. So if that ever happens, hopefully in these mixes that ends up becoming a little bit obvious, which is why I'm leaving this kind of as raw as I possibly can.
Hold on a second, you didn't try out a pedal like...
Look, I'm probably not going to be able to cover every single combination of guitar, pickups, amplifier, or whatever. Also, for the more complicated pedals, there's a very good chance I'm not going to be able to cover every single mode. However, I hope that the tests are comprehensive enough for you to get a really good idea so that you can predict accurately what the pedal is going to sound like in your setup. So that's it, that's the Pedal Gauntlet. It's an attempt to consistently test pedals in repeatable, consistent circumstances to provide really good points of references to help you predict how things are going to sound in your setup. I started this project as an attempt to categorize my own pedal collection, so I hope you find it useful as well.